The Republic of the Marshall Islands just launched their National Adaptation Plan, NAP, today at the Moana Blue Pacific Pavilion here at COP28. And although it's a NAP to the outsides looking in, for the Marshallese, it's a survival plan.
National Adaptation Plan is a really from the ground up approach. And the other thing about it is we basically did it ourselves. Instead of having somebody come and write the narrative for us, we did it on the ground level. Going out to the communities, youth communities, to the other islands and interview them, take their views on what they think of climate change and what they want to see us, the government, do in terms of putting this national adaptation plan together. And I think as a result, the important thing that has to be mentioned is that it's not one individual or a consultant, but rather a community effort. Because I think the community appreciates the fact that this is an issue that transacts not only age, but all parts of the community. So that's why it was important that we prepared and submitted at this time of the year with COP28. A lot of work, a lot of resources, financially and otherwise. So we want to thank all the agencies and governments that contributed in some ways or another to finance the thing, because we couldn't.
As the Honourable Minister John Silk mentioned, the key component of this NAP was the fact that it started from the grassroots level up. We spoke to Kathy Kijner to elaborate.
We were able to go into at least 15 communities and gather their perspectives on observations that they're witnessing of impacts of climate change, as well as what kinds of adaptation pathways they'd like to see. And so what was really clear that came out of these consultations is that across every island they're witnessing sea level rise. And so that's not something that, we're just bringing about from international science, but it's actually being witnessed at the community level. Across all of the participants, they all said that they don't want to migrate, that they want to stay in their islands. That was actually very few people opted for migration. Most of them wanted coastal resilience so that they could stay in their own islands. So that tells us also that, we need to protect our islands and we need to be able to stay in our islands, and that this is something not just us at the policy level wants, but that it's also what our community members want. There were times when men were noticing a higher air temperature or even impacts on crops, mainly because they're the ones that are collecting copra. And so they're the ones that are actually seeing how climate changes and the heat and higher air temperatures is impacting crops. And so that was kind of interesting. Or like how there was a higher percentage of women who were observing sea level rise. And so that was also interesting that, and just a little bit more. So it was really important to us that gender was mainstreamed throughout the plan as well. Adaptation we're planning for are pretty extreme. So some of them includes elevation of land, some of it includes extending land out into the lagoon, as well as internal relocation. So meaning moving community members from one island to another island. Specifically if that island is deemed too vulnerable or too difficult to adapt, which we're hoping it doesn't come to that. Because there's points in the plan actually where people say you have to start making a decision about which islands to save and which islands to not save, which is really horrifying. We don't want to get to that point at all. But, that's something that we have to take into consideration and that we're planning for as well.
This is Madhava Cameron reporting for Pasifika TV.